Hello and welcome to Grinding Meaning number 50. Education, Catholicism, and Institutional MAPs. I'll be using the minor attracted person wording or terminology because the other is likely to get you flagged on YouTube in some way you probably don't want. Oh, I need to turn that off. Oh, much apologies. I usually mute my monitor, but I guess that counts as my audio check. Wanted to do something a little special for 50. The thing I want to talk about is something that very, very smart people who I have respect for don't seem to grasp. Excuse me. There are a lot of phenomenon that people tend to take a very, one-dimensional look at a lot of different things. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get in and play. Second. Take a one-dimensional look at things. I'm just going to play some casual Rocket League while I'm talking about this. And treat the current manifestation of something that always exists in society as its own unique thing, separate unto itself, and not really understand that in society, something will, it's almost like roles in a play, and the actors playing that role will switch around, but the role itself is essentially eternal. Excuse me again. This particular thing I'm describing is probably best... Oh my god. Probably best described as, in a supernatural, metaphorical context. Maybe I can't play while I'm doing this. Kind of like... it's kind of like vampiricism, where... No, it's more like demon possession. That, say, there's many stories where there's a demon, and it possesses somebody, plays out whatever it is it's trying to do. Eventually it's discovered, and the people kill it, but they really just killed the person being possessed by the demon. They think they're victorious, but the demon just moves on and possesses somebody else and gets back to their agenda. I really don't want this to sound like any kind of defense of the Catholic Church and the absolutely horrible stuff that priests have been doing for a very, very long time. What I am trying to say is that in general, wherever power coalesces, malevolent individuals will move in to try to raise their status to a point that they can act out their true nature, or act out more of it without the social consequences associated with behaving that way. And this can be a lot of different things. Maps will always seek out a context where they will have access to the children from a position of authority. For a very long time, pretty much the only game in town was Catholicism, or more specifically the Catholic Church. Not so much the ideology, but the people running the show. And the unbelievable abuses over such a long time and on such a grand scale, most people don't even want to think about it. But, like I said, it's people who have a compulsion to act this thing out will always gravitate towards the context that will best serve them in doing so. That could be Boy Scouts. That could be coaches. That could be Magic the Gathering judges. Or that could be teachers. Oh man, I messed that up. Yeah, maybe playing and talking wasn't such a great idea. How you say the left's current fixation on normalizing all kinds of messed up stuff is not because they're leftists. In fact, it has nothing to do with being on the left. It's just when the best ways to, okay, like I said, people will gravitate towards the things that will let them act out their nature. And when, you know, being a priest is not the thing anymore that lets you do that, when Boy Scouts is kind of dead, when coaches are, you know, under a lot of scrutiny, I had to tell him sorry. What's the best way to do it? Well, you look for people who agree with you. And they are going to be basically on the left and the far left right now. So that becomes your team. And try not to use the word groomer, but I may as well say it. The current fixation with exposing children to age-inappropriate materials, let's say, is because the left is very, very powerful right now. And as I said before, people will gravitate to wherever there's power for whatever screwed up, you know, whatever dysfunction. Okay, dysfunction isn't the right word. There is something I should say. Being gay is naturally occurring. Being bisexual is naturally occurring. Being asexual is naturally occurring. In fact, just about every kink, other than those associated with extreme degradation, are pretty much all naturally occurring. Being attracted to children is not. It is something that is, you could, oh, I don't want to use that phrase, but I was going to say put into you, but that's not a double entendre I really wanted to use. It results from something being done to you. You do not, there, and you'd be like, well, and this is why the Catholic Church was so insidious. It's because you had the minor attracted people were obviously also attracted to any vocation that would let them act that out. So you go out and create a bunch of damage a bunch of kids in that way. And a lot of them are going to go and find context, typically being a priest, where that lets them act that out. So you're sort of, it's a self-perpetuating problem, but I could see someone saying, well, then where did the first ones come from? Like, well, there are individuals who the criteria for them engaging in intercourse with another person is simply that person's inability to resist it. And that would include minors, even though that person isn't specifically attracted to minors. They just any port, any place where they can get away with it is where they're going to go. Old, young, and that's why you see the weird stories about like a home invasion where the invader assaults like a senior woman, and the guy's not like old himself. And they will bring them into existence. Oh, I can't believe I got that. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, you guys must be upset by now. I've robbed them of a couple of goals. So there are always going to be new maps being created. And again, it's not specific to when you are abused during your formative years, especially if it's repeated and extreme. It will damage you in such a way that you will often be drawn to revisiting that abuse in others. Now that comes in a bunch of different flavors. But we're not talking about all the flavors right now. Talking about one in particular, but yeah, Rocket League was a bad idea. I'll take a break after this. I feel like I'm not doing my teammates justice. Shoot, I should have... I meant to put together an outline, because there's so many things I wanted to say on this, and now I'm drawing a blank. Let's say... people who are emotionally abused will be emotionally abusive to those who they have the opportunity, typically in a position of power or authority over others, they will do that. It is almost like hazing. And like one of the things I say is that when you look at like the toxic, like abusive, like horrible version of something, it's at one end of the spectrum of what might otherwise be normal or healthy. Like a lot of cultures have like rites of passage. But you can also look at, you know, the distinction between a rite of passage and like ritualistic hazing is largely a cultural distinction. And I just really feel really bad for the people who basically don't have a choice about what they are. But this gets put into them so deeply that they basically can never be anything else. And the only thing that restrains their behaviors is fear of social ostracization. And, you know, this is why a lot of politicians are really horrible people, because the desire for power is almost exclusively someone wanting to... Oh, he almost got that. Act out something that they couldn't really get away with because of their status. And doing so would either land them in jail or significantly reduce their status. I guess what I'm saying is the reason why there are so many minor attracted people in the education system right now is the same reason there were so many in the Catholic Church. this was the place you went to. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. Freebie. Come on. What are you doing? You could have taken a shot on goal from there. Nobody was challenging you. Yeah, there's a... And this is typically a male phenomenon, but it also occurs in women, but as they are more sophisticated and subtle, so are the manifestations. There was a person I met off a dating site a couple of years ago, and I just felt so incredibly bad for this person. You should always be skeptical when someone who's essentially out of your league is willing to date you. There's probably something else going on there. What was that guy in that South Park episode, the ski instructor? You said, oh shoot, I've not muted my voice chat. I don't think anybody wants to hear me. Oh shoot, I was going to stop playing after that. God damn it. And it became very clear that her formative sexual experiences were clearly not of the consensual nature, almost certainly because she was not old enough, let's say. No. And let's say if I were to go through the list of standard signals to say that someone wanted to have sex, if I went through that, I don't think anyone listening would have any doubt that that was the intention. I don't want to get bogged down in all the details of that, but suffice to say, just went down the list. But for me, a big part, possibly the biggest part of my attraction for someone is their attraction for me. And in my younger years, I have had hookups where the person really wasn't into it, and that's just not a pleasant experience. Even if they literally said that's what they wanted. It's not. They didn't desire it. They just, I don't know, force a habit or... Not force of habit, but I don't know. For screwed up reasons I won't get into. And despite, like, basically every potential signal that that's what she wanted, I wasn't getting it from her. I wasn't sensing it from her. She wasn't actually into me. There's a number of signals that show genuine interest, and they simply weren't there. And she almost seemed to be getting frustrated that I wasn't getting the message. But I literally just said it. It's like, you're not actually into me. And she's taken aback. Like, how can you tell? How'd you know? And it's like, trust me, I know. But I think there was a situation where she was either getting back at whoever she was with, or thought she could, use me as a you know, well, simp isn't the right word because, you know, having sex with a guy so that you'll be able to get him to do things for you isn't quite the same thing as that, but it was one of the, I'm certain it was one or both of those things, and probably both. And, you know, would... Oh boy. And she had actually talked at one point about that, you know, she did like girls too. And when she described it, she said, well, you know, but they have to be prettier than me. And she's pretty. She was very pretty. Like, you know, at one time she probably could have passed as like model quality pretty. And it was an absolute must, because I guess her and her ex, probably wasn't her ex, probably just saying ex because was getting back at the ex, said that occasionally they would hire a woman, you could say. And apparently she was, let's say, injurious in a sexual way to the woman, and like actual excitement in her eyes would appear when she described this very thing. And it's super sad because it's clear that this is her revisiting abuses done to her on another woman. So these things do repeat, and they repeat. Hurt people is a phrase that works really well. And hurt people will have a desire to hurt people, typically in the same manner in which they were hurt. This is where it's sort of like vampiricism, where you get infected. It's almost like very much like a virus, where a virus is like a rogue set of, sort of like rogue DNA that exists only to like replicate itself. And this is why, you know, abuse cycles can go on for generation to generation. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, not everybody has the same susceptibility to, you could say, becoming infected with it. But enough do that if you have someone out there, like a priest, and they start racking up some big numbers, probably not the best way to put that, as far as victims, a significant number of those victims, will be revisiting abuse upon others. And we need to stop acting like this is something unique to the Catholic Church, and understand that any place where adults, typically men, can get access to children without the parents around, from a position of authority, that is where the maps are going to go. And the best game in town right now is the education system. And people triggered by the term groomer are sort of self-reporting. Now, some of those people is just, they're on their team says this, so I believe this. There are those, but among those are the people who see they've invested in a particular let's say they've started training to be a priest and they don't want to see priests lose access to children. Or, I don't know, this guy's just driving around in circles. Or, you know, they got into teaching, and they almost certainly don't understand that the reason they got into teaching, they're not saying all teachers, definitely not all teachers, and historically very few, but that is the best game in town right now. And when they combine forces with the sort of like a death cult that just seems to kind of want to tear everything down and destroy society. See, used to be when you were resentful of existence, you know, angry at the world. Oh, I whipped. You were unhappy and bitter and resentful. You would blame God. But in a largely atheistic culture, you blame well, essentially nature, or whoever is representing nature is an analog for God. And then you just attack the structures that keep your society up. Like, for whatever reason, just tearing down what keeps the whole thing going is very appealing to you. Okay, last stream while I play Rocket League. Oh, I took out the Depender for you. Oh, I did not get the bump. Like, he was gonna whiff. Oh, teammate own goal. But yeah, I should just, you know, wrap it up. Minor attracted people will seek out any environment or any context in which they can act out that compulsion. And it's not unique to Catholicism. And just like, and wherever this manifests, the go-to move is to try to cover up what's going on. Just like the Catholic Church did. Pretend it's not happening. You know? Shut up the people who are bringing light to the problem. Pretend the problem doesn't exist. This happened with Magic the Gathering judges. There was a guy who was a Magic the Gathering YouTuber. Big into the game. Realized that this, if I'm remembering right, he cross-referenced Magic the Gathering judges with people on the sex offender registry. Found a lot of overlap. Tried to inform Wizards of the Coast. Well, they ignored him. Went public with it. And they basically banned him from tournament play and deleted all his online cards that he had collected. Because the problem isn't the problem. The problem is the person calling out the problem. And if I recall, they had similar issues with, well, problems in the Boy Scouts. It's just the go-to move, except Catholicism was just much better at it and had more power to do it than other places. They also had more of the people. As, you know, it's basically been an institution creating more of them. I need to finish a video, an abstract animation video. I hate doing streams, but they make me better. I get better at speaking. I should just do one about, you know, toxicity in Rocket League. I mean, I've done a few of those, but it's a great analogy for just human interaction in general. It, like, explains so much. You get simpler versions of, like, so much, let's say, unhealthy human behavior. Yeah, I'll finish this game up, and then I think I'm gonna end the stream. I didn't have as much to talk about as I thought I had. I should be talking, but I just kind of want to win this. Oh, he had to be right up my butt. What is he doing downfield? Okay, now I just wanted to end. I almost don't care who wins. Yeah, just hit it your own goal. That's a good idea. Okay. Guys, I want to turn this into a, like, how to spot, like, toxic players in Rocket League. Okay, we're done. So this has been Dead Air number 50. I mean, Grinding Meanie number 50. Education, Catholicism, and Institutional Maps. And the Expert Layman, you all have a great day.